Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks, Jordan. Great. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Thank you again, Jordan, and to Grit Daily for hosting us. And thank you, Alex, for being here. You're always a great person to interview. So just for an introduction, my name is Rachel Wolfson. I'm a senior reporter at CoinTelegraph. I've been covering the blockchain and cryptocurrency space since 2017, so for quite a while. And that's when I actually first learned about Celsius and Alex Mashinsky. Alex, did you just want to go ahead and introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, you were watching us since we were a baby, right?
That's true.
Um, yeah. So Alex Mashinsky, I was born in the Ukraine, West Ukraine. No Russians there yet, but I think they're coming. And came to the U.S. about 35 years ago. Did 8 startups as a serial founder, so I should be hospitalized just for that. And I have 6 kids with my wife over there, my very well accessorized wife right there, Chrissy. So an underachiever, 8 startups, 6 kids, and currently running Celsius Network, which is a platform to help people unbank themselves, right? Get yourself into out of the bank and into crypto. So, and we have about 1.5 million customers, 20 billion in assets.
Great, wonderful. Well, Alex, that actually kind of leads into my first question because I'm wondering more a little bit about the goals behind Celsius. You allow users to be their own bank. So can you kind of explain the goals behind the company and what, being your own bank actually means?
Yeah, I don't think any of us want to be a bank, right? Because I saw the latest, I think it was a CNN poll that said that going to the bank ranked worse than going to the dentist. So people were willing to go to the dentist and not go to the bank. So we want to replace the bank experience or the kind of like who helps us with our financial being with something that actually acts in our best interest. So currently there's no, a lot of people promise that, right? You can go to Goldman Sachs, you can go to Fidelity, you can go to Bank of America, whatever. All these people promise you to help you with your financial path. But the reality is that you're not going to get to financial freedom by just using those platforms. So today, the financial infrastructure, basically, the divide there has never been greater, and most Americans are stuck with just trying to pay the rent, pay the credit card, and that's part of what we're trying to disrupt, right? We're trying to come up with a methodology that allows you to have your money work for you, not just you work for your money. And so if you become your own bank, that doesn't help you. It doesn't solve those problems. And our community of 1.5 million people are basically, we're all in it together. We all following the same path, the same steps to financial freedom.
Got it. Would you classify Celsius as, Celsius is more than just an exchange. It's more than just a crypto exchange. Can you kind of explain all the features that Celsius allows users to access?
Sure. So we started with yield. Yield kind of disappeared from the world. It used to be you could earn 6-7% by just depositing money with your bank. Now those yields are 0.1, 0.2%. So I think the yield was kind of the foundation of Celsius. Then we've added loans, so you can basically take a loan, again, defer your taxes. That's what rich people do. When we see billionaires don't pay any tax, it's not because they're cheating. It's because they're using margin borrow or taking loans against their assets as a mechanism to defer their taxes. And we all can do that, right? So it's about all of us using the same tools. We added swaps, so the ability to move from one asset to another without paying any spreads or fees or anything else. So that's something that doesn't exist today. Today, all the people who tell you no fee charge you spreads. You just think you're not paying a fee, but you're paying. They're charging you money from your left pocket instead of from your right pocket. And more recently, we built CelsiusX, which is a bridge between different blockchains. So it allows you to extend Celsius into DeFi, extend Celsius into kind of like this new world of NFTs and other things that we are launching soon, and allows us to really broaden the services that Celsius provides.
Awesome. I had no idea about Celsius Bridge. So that's good to know. And the name Celsius, can you kind of explain what's behind that name and what it means and how you guys chose that name?
Yeah. So I know in the U.S. everybody's using Fahrenheit, but no one knows how to spell that. So we had to come up with something a little bit easier. Even with Celsius, a lot of people spell it with a C and not an S. People try to solicit me every day, vendors and whatever, and they spell it, and I'm like, okay, zero chance if you can't even spell the name. But you know, Daniel and I, my co-founder, we were trying to come up with names, and we had all these descriptive names that meant something about the blockchain, block this or chain that. And we had these 3 interns that we hired from NYU, and they're all like shaking their hands. You know, they were all like 18 or 19, and they're like, and we're like, well, what's wrong with our names? They're like, your names suck. And we were like, well, don't complain. Give me something better. And one of them was just said Celsius. And I'm like, what? Can you say that louder? Celsius. I'm like, sold. So that's the story behind the name. There's no you know, complicated or we didn't hire like a major you know, Madison Avenue firm and paid them $1 million to give us this name, because that's what I think Verizon did that, right? Verizon used to call Bell Atlantic, and they paid like a few $1 million, and they came up with Verizon. None of that. How about an 18-year-old intern from NYU for free?
Yeah, that's the best. Good to know. Wonderful. So, Alex, you're a serial entrepreneur. You've raised over $1.5 billion and have sold $3 billion worth of companies. Do you think that's enough in your opinion, or, you know, do you have any other goals to kind of achieve moving forward?
Yeah. I don't think my measurement of success is not how much money you made. I think making money is great, but how many people did you impact? Did you do good? Did you do more good? Did you take more from the world, or did you give back to the world, right? And the kind of the path of most entrepreneurs is that they hoard as much money as possible, and then they join a few charities, or they go to a few black tie events, and they spray some money, and they make sure that reporters write about it, and then they become a respected citizen in society, right? And so I you know, I've sat in several you know, boards of nonprofits, and you know, when you're an entrepreneur and you move at light speed and you see how slow these organizations move, you're like, you know, you can't you can't stay in your seat. You just bolt out. So I decided to just focus on giving back, and giving back in a way that changes things for tens, if not hundreds of millions of people, right? And again, everything we talk about at Celsius is very simple concept. There's no, it's not like we invented a new formula at MIT and you know, got a Nobel Prize for it. It's very simple. Banks steal from you, we pay you yield. Why are you still with the bank? Okay, drop the mic. So my point is, it's what was missing is just somebody picking a fight with the bank, right? I mean, no one was crazy enough to say, you know what, I'm just going to pick a fight with all the banks in the world. So, and it's not about courage. It's about just coming up with a plan in which, if we all got together and we all hodl our assets, we win and the banks lose. I mean, most people thought that was just a crazy idea. Like, how is that going to work? Come on, Alex. So we proved it, right? We paid $1 billion in yield and interest to 1.5 million people around the world, and now we have 100 people trying to copy us, right? Because, which is a good thing. I'm saying, like, great. Use this formula of doing good and copy it. Just make sure you're giving all that yield back to the community and not to the rich or famous.
Right. Yeah. And I love that motto to hodl. I mean, I've been a hodler since, the beginning, and I truly believe in it. So what Celsius is doing is great.
And you are being tested. Like right now, I think the hodlers are being tested, right? The markets are going down and everybody's like, should I be a hodler or should I bail out? So being a hodler is not an easy thing.
You definitely need to have the right mindset to hodl, but I feel like it's always the right thing to do. When you have that mindset, it does become a lot easier.
We make it easier. We pay you every Monday to keep hodling.
Exactly. So moving on to another topic, let's talk a little bit about Web3. So right now, we're seeing a centralized internet, and we're also seeing the rise of Web3. So how is the internet centralized now, and what does decentralization look like moving forward with Web3?
Yeah, so maybe let's cover a little bit of history here, right? So the internet, when it was born, it was only 6 universities that were connected, right? So the US government kind of DARPA issues this mandate that says, okay, let's build a network that will withstand nuclear attack on the United States, right? Because all of our networks can be disrupted with a nuclear attack, and the technology is being invented, right? Like, so basically TCP/IP, the protocols, the node infrastructure. Before Cisco, actually, a company called BBN actually built the first few routers that could route TCP/IP, and it wasn't built for decentralization. It wasn't built for everything that we're talking about in Web3. It was actually built to survive World War III, right? And then industry took over, right? So government decides, okay, we're going to open this thing up, this research project, and basically in the late 80s, early 90s, the internet became available to many more people. It still wasn't open. It's not like you could go and get an email address or anything else, or open a website. It was just, and then decentralized functions started appearing on the internet, right? So the internet was born as a decentralized infrastructure, the protocols, the infrastructure, everything else, and Web 1 was all about scaling that decentralization, right? Then Web 2 centralized the internet. So comes Facebook. Just Facebook itself is more than half of the internet. Half of the traffic on the internet is ran by one company that is taking this decentralization and centralizing it into one entity. And not because they're bad people, just because they want to monetize that. And we, the people, decided that centralization is not important, and if we can talk to all of our friends and it's provided by a centralized organization, great, we're going to use them instead of supporting decentralization. So it's like if you think of a pendulum that's swinging from one side to the other, we went to maximum decentralization with Web 1, then to maximum centralization, which is where we are now, right? And now we're trying to make the pendulum swing the other way with Web 3. But Web 3 is a great idea, right? We're going to provide decentralized money, decentralized services, replace the internet, social media, all that is going to get decentralized. Great. But unless all of us vote with our pockets and with our actions to stop using centralized services, nothing is going to happen to Web 3. So it doesn't win by default. It's not like suddenly Google and Facebook and other companies going to roll over and say, oh, decentralization is here, we're dying in a theatrical collapse. None of that is going to happen, right? So most of us are lazy. We are just going to stick with our Gmail and our Insta and our TikTok, and all those are max centralization services. So decentralization wins only if we build new services that are new business models. For example, Celsius is a new business model. It's not better than the bank. It's not a little bit better than Fidelity. it's a completely different business model, right? In which, again, the community is the center of this decentralized service, right? So, and even though Celsius centralized functions of DeFi and CeFi and Bitcoin and Ethereum, even though we centralize it so people can use it, just like Facebook effectively centralized social media and so people can use it more easily, are you here to do good? Or are you here just to milk all of this billions of people for more fees that you can give yourself and your shareholders, right? So the business model is what matters. Centralization or decentralization is less important. And again, I'm calling on all the people who are developing Web3 to not improve on the Wall Street business models or on the Facebook business model, but actually empower people and to deliver this, freedom and prosperity and all of these functions to 8 billion people on this planet in a new business model, right? That's really the opportunity, and I would say 9 out of 10 Web3 services are not doing that.
Interesting. What are the downsides? Are there any downsides of decentralization? I mean, I think one of the challenges that we need to consider also is that moving from Web 2 to Web 3 can be challenging, especially for, developers as well. So can you kind of talk about the challenges and the potential downsides of decentralization?
Yeah, the challenges are tremendous because it is the Wild West. You're seeing hacks and scams and bad things happening on Web3 every day, and those are definitely not good for the technology. They're not good for building or scaling decentralization, and it's the growing pains that we have to go through to get to a more stable version of Web3, right? So we're going through this experimentation. Think of it as a Cambrian explosion of experimentation and innovation, right? And as we're going through this innovation, we realize that, okay, we left the door open here, we left the window open there, and yesterday somebody DM'd me on Twitter and said, Alex, why do you think so many scammers are in crypto? And I said, because we left all the doors and windows open. What did you think is going to happen? So we can't. It's a young technology, and we have 18-year-olds writing a protocol, launching it, and 500 million shows up because it has 700% yield, and the day after, all that money is lost because somebody hacked the protocol. So it's not just on the 18-year-old, it's also on all of these geniuses who thought that dumping money into a DeFi protocol, untested DeFi protocol, is a safe move. So, we are still learning. And again, part of what we've done with CelsiusX is create this protected environment where you can play in DeFi, you can play in the sandbox, but it's in a walled garden instead of being, in the middle of the Ukraine with a missile flying over your head. So maybe that wasn't a very good analogy, but,
Right. Yeah. So is decentralization going to impact anyone here at South by Southwest? We're at South by Southwest, so it's maybe a good question to ask.
Well, if you're a music fan, right, and let's say you're a band and you are trying to make a living, right, and you're here and everybody loves you, you still need to cut a deal with Sony or some other company, and they'll collect between 90 and 95% of all the money your band will ever make, right? So decentralization solves all of that, right? You can basically create your own music, you can NFT it, you can make every song an NFT, and each one of your fans has to buy that NFT if they want to listen to the music, and that replaces all of the centralized music distribution networks we have today, like Apple Music and Amazon Music and every other music service you have. So the technology is there, and do the large labels like that? Of course not, right? They're like they would Apple doesn't like it, and no one likes it, right? And again, we the people have to decide, are we consuming our music directly from the band using this NFT solution that's available right now? Or are we going to continue buying all of our music from Apple because it's so convenient and it's $7 a month and it's already on my account and I can listen to 10 million songs? So each one of us has to vote, again, like I said, vote with our pocket and vote with our actions, right? Left pocket, right pocket.
Right. And I mean, in terms of music NFTs, there are so many benefits there for both artists and fans. I think it just requires, us to educate the public on what those benefits are. Is Celsius doing anything to educate people around the benefits of NFTs?
Well, it's calling on people to do good first. If you're thinking about doing good first, then you'll take this action, because it's not about convenience. It's about you knowing, I'm going to support my band. I'm going to support the industry. I'm going to support creativity, versus I'm going to support more money for Apple. Apple doesn't need more money, right? They're the most profitable company on the planet, right? So it's on us to make a vote, to make a choice. And that's where we are stuck. Normally, the silent majority, unfortunately, doesn't take this action, right? So you have a few people making a lot of noise. Then you have a small community that surrounds them that says, okay, this is a good idea, we're going to go for it. But crossing to mass adoption, getting that, like in crypto, I measure it at 100 million people. Getting 100 million people to adopt these services because they mean doing good, not just because I'm going to get rich, right? That's a piece we are struggling with. So what happens? And you watch this and reported on it more than anybody else, right? We bring people from fiat land to crypto land, right? They come as tourists. They think it's free money. It's going to be amazing. They put some money in DeFi. They buy some NFTs. They wake up in the morning and they realize, oh, it's not so easy. I lost money here. I made a little bit money there. Too complicated. I'm going to take the plane back to fiat land. I'm leaving, right? So what do? We just lost an ambassador. We just lost a champion for our cause, right? Somebody that will not go and tell their friends, this crypto thing is really good and you should get into it. So the fight is over the people and adoption versus Bitcoin's going to 100,000 or is it going to 150,000?
Right. I mean, Alex, you make such good and important points, because I think a lot of the times, and we even saw this during the Super Bowl this year with the crypto advertisements, they were just way over the top, making, everything is about rewards, but what about the risks? And so you make a very important point in the crypto space. Yes, there are rewards, there are benefits, but we also need to be clear about what the risks are as well. So what you just said is great, because I do think that with the NFT boom that we're seeing, a lot of people are just trying to reap the rewards without realizing the risks involved as well. So that's a really important point that we need to keep in mind when it comes to things like NFTs and cryptocurrency in general.
Yeah, and as long as the music is playing, everybody's making money. But when the music stops, most of these people are people that can't afford to lose that money. Right? They're risking their financial future because they heard that there is fast riches to be had by buying an ape or a punk or something. Well, they can't afford a punk, but maybe an ape, and they want to flip it, and they realize, oh, I'm the last marginal buyer. I took my 53 ETH and I spent it on this thing, and now no one is willing to pay even half of it. So that is nothing about what Celsius is all about, right? So we don't allow you even to list any of these assets, right? We're not interested in any of that stuff. Not because they're good or bad, it's just because those things don't get you to financial freedom.
Right. Yeah.
Right? That's the issue.
Right. I think we have enough time for one or two more questions. So I always like to ask people, just because it's interesting to get their thoughts on this, price predictions when it comes to Bitcoin. If you would like to answer that question, feel free. If not, no worries. But I know that a lot of people are curious to know what Bitcoin may be at by the end of this year. So if you have any thoughts to share on that.
Well, I was on a panel in London, and I said 50-50, and that was I think most successful panel I've ever been on. No, I'm kidding. So obviously, no one knows what the price is going to do. Anyone who tells you, "Oh, I know," or whatever, is fooling themselves. And as we've seen again and again, there's unpredictable events like Russia invading the Ukraine, or like the Fed chairman deciding to be more aggressive, or the president, positive events like the president saying, "Oh, we're going to study this and see how we integrate crypto into the rest of our financial system." So if you're betting buying crypto because a positive or negative event is going to happen, you're in the wrong place and you're trying to do the wrong thing, right? The main thing about Bitcoin and Ethereum is that our government is going to continue printing money, and it's not just our government, it's Europe, it's Japan, it's everywhere else. Inflation, and we just got the inflation's numbers this morning, right? The inflation is accelerating, not slowing down. So inflation is eating away. Whatever is left after you pay the taxes, inflation is just eating away at the money left in your pocket. And you don't feel it. You don't get a raise because there's inflation, right? No, none of us is getting a raise because there's inflation. So it's eating away at your dollars. So how do you took your time, you exchange your time for a few dollars, right? You're working, that's your salaries. Somebody paid you for your time, right? And now what are you going to do with that? That's store of value. It's a store of your time, right? Are you going to let inflation eat away at it, or are you going to put it into something that has a good chance of winning against inflation, right? And that's really what Bitcoin and Ethereum is about. It's the best bet we have to win against, because if you can afford a house here in Austin, for example, great. That might be a reasonable bet against inflation. But most of us can't afford that, right? Most of us can't afford to just put enough money for a down payment or get a mortgage or whatever. So the answer is that you're placing a bet that your hard-earned cash or hard-earned money is going to accelerate faster than inflation. And it doesn't matter what it does in between. Like you were talking about hodling before, right? You're hodling because you're betting on that financial freedom, not because you're swinging at Bitcoin going to 100,000. So the answer is yes, Bitcoin prices are going higher because of the scarcity. More people are joining. Millions of people are joining. There's never, Bitcoin, Ethereum never had more open wallets, which means all those people are going to own this currency, limited supply, growing demand, higher prices. But in between, you will see drawdowns maybe lower than where we are right now, and highs that are higher than now. So just, I always say it's very easy to know how much Bitcoin you should have. It's a very simple formula. If you bought some Bitcoin or Ethereum, and you're sleeping, you're not sleeping at night, right? You're waking up every hour and you're checking prices. That means you have too much Bitcoin. You should just sell some. And wait, there's the opposite of that true as well. And if you bought some Bitcoin and you're sleeping like a baby at night without taking a pill, that means you don't have enough Bitcoin because you basically did not reach your level of tolerance. So for each one of us, that is a different point, right? And all you need to know is that whatever, 5-10% of your assets are in a non-dollar denominated bucket. And if our government continues to debase our currency, at least you have a chance of, you have escape velocity to get to financial freedom.
Right, yeah, I think that's a great response. Also, it's important to point out that people don't need to buy a full Bitcoin or full ETH. I mean, buying bits of that to start off is a great way to get started in the space as well. Like you were saying,
we charge no fees, so you can buy $10 worth of Bitcoin.
Right, yeah. So everybody in the audience who's interested in that, I mean, I know that there are some people, they're like, well, how do I get started and what about the fees? I mean, Celsius is such a great platform to do that.
Right, because again, we talked about all these tourists, right? Fiat land to crypto land. The only way you save them, like it just drives me crazy, right? Like all these people that use Coinbase, for example, right? They land, they use their credit card, and they just paid 7% fee, right? 7%. So you bought something for $100, they actually charge $10 minimum, so it's 10% fee. But if you bought $200, it would be a $14 fee, right? And it's great for Coinbase. It's just horrible for our adoption, right? So Celsius makes enough money on lending that we don't have to charge any fees on helping you on ramp and stay in crypto land.
Right. And one more point I want to point out before we end the panel, which is really great about Celsius, is now there's a customer support center, right? Like a call center, which, I mean, that's just paving the way towards mainstream adoption, because we need that with these, you know, a lot of these exchanges don't have customer support. So Celsius is really ramping that up. That's wonderful. Just another point to call out.
You
there.
can talk to a human. Yeah,
Yes,
we have
you can
100
talk to a
agents
human. Yeah.
that actually, and you can just call in and say hi. You don't have to, if you don't have a question, you're also welcome to call and just say hi.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jordan, do we have time for questions? Are we doing questions, or are we out of time? Sure. Does anyone have a question? Okay. Yes.
So, in my experience, and I think, you know, generally understood, in a lot of households that are heterosexual couples that do control the money. And I think that one of the difficulties for women breaking into this space is that there tends to be this culture of kind of growiness around crypto. It can be really difficult and like off-putting. So I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about those dynamics and kind of how Celsius is for that, and any other thoughts you have.
Yeah, you know the joke that the man is the head, but the woman is the neck, and she decides if you turn left or right, not the head. So,
I mean, certainly we're in charge.
yes.
We're not the ones who have the accounts.
So 70% of spending is by women, right? And yet only 15% of the crypto community is female. So there's definitely a disconnect, and it's a problem we're struggling with that at Celsius as well, right? I mean, and like we have these policies that we want to be at least half women on the team and a senior team and everything else. So these are very important things that we pay a lot of attention to, but we have not been successful at bringing more women as crypto holders, right? We and not just us, obviously every other company have failed at it. So I think. Frankly, I don't have an answer for it. If you have an answer, I would love to know what the answer is to bring more women into crypto. But I think right now it's just too technical. You have to be a savvy like I always joke, it's like, what is crypto? It's everything you don't understand about money combined with everything you don't understand about computers, right? And what are we preaching? We're preaching don't spend any money. So women go like my wife always says that. She's like, you want me to do what? You want me to hodl for how long? Forever? What's the point? I want to spend some money, you know? So the value proposition is almost the opposite of what most women are looking to do, right? So I think the industry and the community needs to solve that equation, right? Like, okay, how do you offer a path to financial freedom, but also offer women the ability to have some fun once in a while, buy something, or right. So we don't have the answer, and it's more about working together to figure out what is the answer and how do we get there. Because if you have a revolution and only half of the people show up, you know, not a good revolution.
I also want to add, I think education is really important, because once you realize how easy and how amazing and how empowering it is to have crypto, and you're in control of that, it will change your world. And I think more women need to be educated on the power of crypto, because once you get it, and it's really empowering.
They might drop all the men and get rid of all of us. They'll be
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I don't need a man anymore.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, so maybe we shouldn't bring women. No, I'm just kidding.
But it's really empowering. I wrote an ebook on, you know, Bitcoin for beginners. I know Celsius. I included a section on Celsius in there, but education.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Education is really important, because once you figure it out, your whole world will change, and you're going to just really start thinking about like crypto over fiat. Like, I hardly think of fiat anymore. I'm just like, oh, Bitcoin, and, you know, looking at the price. Anyways, so Yes. Does anybody else have a question? We're good? Okay. Jordan says we are out of time. So thank you, everyone. Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Alex. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.